Hey everyone, I'm Zenith Priest, and welcome to my introduction for Grinning Trickster Stirs Up Trouble, where I will give you insight into the nature of the spirit and show you how much fun it is to mess with the invaders for 5 turns, if they stick around that long. Trickster is a moderate complexity spirit that provides a little bit of everything, having a tailored toolkit of mischief at its disposal. We usually start with good access to our board, with 1 presence in the highest land with Dahan and 1 in land 4. Our playstyle involves instigations, trickery, and other acts of mayhem, with random chaos baked into a couple of our powers. Having a real flair for discord, Trickster is able to spread extra strife with ease and a little energy. Most would agree that cleaning up messes is a drag, but for Trickster, it's soul-crushing, destroying their presence whenever they deliberately remove Blight. We have 4 growth options to choose from, and get to pick 2 each turn. Reclaiming costs an energy, and we also get to move a presence. Keep that extra energy cost in mind, as getting stuck having to reclaim without energy will force us to grab the energy option when we may not want to. Next, we get to place a presence at range, which tends to be for short-term gain, only going as far as we need to perform the turn's shenanigans. Our third option gains a power. Most of the time, minor powers synergizes well with our kit, and fits the theme of not working so hard to pull off majors. Lastly, we gain energy equal to our card plays. Most of the time this will be 3 energy, but having it scale up as we do is kinda nice. Our tracks start out with a single energy and 2 card plays, and we aren't very focused on gaining more. The top track also provides our elements, with a wild element that would be more tempting if it wasn't so far in. The first reveal on the bottom track allows us to push Dahan from one of our lands, allowing us to capitalize on our strife capabilities. With 3 card plays next in line, this becomes the more enticing path, and we'll follow it until we have to reclaim before switching to the top track. Our first innate power, Let's See What Happens, flips the top minor power and applies its effects. With such a wide array of possibilities, the outcome will be far from predictable, but that's why you chose this spirit, yeah? Whether you want to keep the card around or just need the energy, the second tier allows us to gain an energy and trade out the revealed power by forgetting another one first. Why Don't You and Them Fight provides several options for dealing with the invaders, depending on the elements we have available. We'll typically see only 1 effect for any given use, but they will stack if we manage to curate the right hand. With a little planning, 3 Moons slows down this power, perhaps to catch a stray explorer or build. For our unique powers, Impersonate Authority adds strife in a land close by. A simple effect, and with our flair for discord, we can negate a couple of invaders from ravaging, or spread out to prepare for later. Incite the Mob pairs well with Impersonating Authority, as it capitalizes on our penchant for strife, causing invaders to attack each other and generating fear in the process. Overenthusiastic Arson destroys a nearby town, with bonus fear and damage if we reveal a firepower from the minor deck. Oh, and a Blight, so be sure to give your allies a heads up. Or not. Unexpected Tigers ticks up the fear count in a nearby land with invaders, then either gathers a beast in to push an explorer out, or adds a beast. Early game, we'll be looking to stop builds if possible, but adding beasts to fight invaders later with our innate power is a fun alternative. Putting these pieces together, we have a lovely bag of tricks to choose from for having fun with the invaders. Our effective range is 1 in most cases, but Why Don't You and Them Fight requires our personal touch. While we don't do a lot of heavy lifting, and probably won't go for major powers until later, if at all, that isn't to say we shouldn't plan out more elaborate pranks. As one example, our ability to add extra strife leads into later uses of Incite the Mob or Why Don't You and Them Fight. And with that, let's get started on a demo game. Trickster requires strife and beasts, so we'll need to play with at least 1 expansion, but for extra chaos, we'll be playing with both. I've turned the events off to better highlight Trickster's capabilities, giving us access to command beasts, which we'll see use at our whimsy. Alright, let's begin. Turn 1. Before doing anything else, let's look at some minor powers. Our general opening for this build is to Impersonate Authority in one of the new builds, and spreading the strife into the city. This means we'll need to keep 1 energy in reserve, limiting our other play to Unexpected Tigers. With Incite the Mob and Overenthusiastic Arson left, picking up fire and or air means we'll be able to use our second innate power next turn. Evaluating for these fights can easily outweigh the effect of the power itself. Gift of Constancy is thematically anathema to Trickster. It wants things to stay constant. And without any elements or fun effects to play with, we'll almost always have better options. Infested aquifers could make for a more malicious prank, adding disease or causing some damage. It also has a couple of our elements, making this a power to consider, even though setup could take a few turns. Veil the Knight's Hunt looks like a lot of fun, damaging some invaders or pushing to Han. It also possesses the air we could use next turn, and animals besides. Voracious Growth requires a Sacred Site, which we could do but takes extra effort, and doesn't have any of our elements. Toss in the Blight removal, and we have a trifecta of reasons to look elsewhere. So Veil the Knight's Hunt is our pick, moving us to Presence Placement. Since we're taking from the bottom track, places with Dahan become enticing, and since we start with good reach and don't have anywhere specific to be, let's place it in Land 1. Pushing a Dahan into Land 8 provides an opportunity to clear it if we miss with Arson next turn, but we could also push one into 5 to clear it instead. If the town explored, we could incite the mob instead of using tigers, and set up Dahan to clear it if they're not already there. Just keep in mind that that will slow our tempo without unexpected tigers, and alters our power considerations from earlier. Because of that, I will usually stick to this line in the playthroughs, even when the town explores. In the slow phase, unexpected tigers pop up in the upper jungle, setting us up for a potential fight later. If we instead gather a beast to push an explorer, then we'll want to either push them into the land we're going to arson, since we've already factored in potential blight, or into the city, where we're guaranteed to get value when we incite the mob next turn. Next, we impersonate authority in Land 5 and spend an energy to spread strife to the city. Turn 2. With no energy, we're going to take the last growth, but first make sure to open up 3 energy, placing the presence where we want fights to happen. Look to help an ally if possible, since we've got our problems covered. Sometimes we can instigate a fight to solve another ravaging land, potentially freeing up Arson to take out the starting town. Playing our hand and pushing a Dahan into the jungle for Veil the Knight's Hunt, we proceed. Using our first innate power is always a gamble, but a typical rule of thumb for its use is to consider what effects will free up the other options in our hand. For example, finding an answer for the upper mountain lets us arson Land 7 instead. The other consideration is when you have a solid plan that you don't want random chaos to mess up, such as needing Dahan to clear land or a build to happen. If you're more risk averse and get uneasy over potentially disrupting your plans, you can also choose a random land out of your way, or maybe an ally could use your help. Ultimately, don't spend too much time in the unknown. Point, close your eyes, and just see what happens. Call to Migration gathers all the surrounding Dahan, and we'll have to push them all out. Keeping one in the sands, we'll push the other 2 back into the wetlands, keeping them at hand in the lower island. We now consider whether to keep the power we just flipped, gaining an energy if we do. Having all our elements, this is worth considering, but we'd also have to forget a power. I'm pretty happy with what we've got, and the extra energy isn't tempting enough this time. With that squared away, we arson the mountain town as planned, sadly not revealing fire for extra damage. The rest of the phase also goes as planned, destroying the jungle explorer and adding strife to the starting town. The invaders take their turn, with the Dahan taking out the other mountain town, and being unable to build, they finish by exploring into the sands. Playing our cards the way we did, incite the mob becomes a power of convenience, and we may not always see its use. Here, we can gain a little extra fear by sticking the sand town on the new explorer, getting our first fear card. Turn 3. With no cards in hand, we'll need to reclaim, but because we're also moving presence and Dahan, let's take a moment to see if the order matters. We need to push another Dahan into the jungles to clear it, and with the plan to arson the sand town, we should maybe get out of the way there. However, with the town in ashes, no new explorers will crop up in the inner lands, so we could also move into an ally's territory to offer a hand. Let's simulate that, pushing a Dahan from Land 1 before moving our presence elsewhere. Our other option will be to get energy, ensuring we can play our hand over the next couple turns. If we found a zero-cost power turn 1, then we'd have a little more energy to play with, possibly choosing one of the other options instead. As mentioned earlier, we'll be arsoning the town in D7, leaving the lower sands as our only problem. Since we already moved Dahan into the jungles, we won't be able to Veil the Knight's Hunt like we did last turn, but impersonating authority to incite the mob will neutralize any damage. Other games may have different needs, and our tactics will need to change accordingly. Looking to capitalize on instigating fights with our innate power will usually provide solid guidance. When it doesn't, we can always play fewer cards here to increase our options for next turn. Since we can potentially clear the lower sands with our innate power, let's see what happens there first. Call to 10 does nothing, so we proceed with our original plan. Destroying the town backfires slightly, adding blight and destroying our presence, and for fun, we can add some inner turmoil to the Sand Explorer. Our Earn Fear card is planned for departure, but we've got no towns to move. The invaders continue their turn, where we earn another Fear card as the Dahan destroy the city, and after building a town, they explore from there into the jungles. Our slow phase remains unchanged, gaining a little fear before we proceed. Turn 4. It is here that different strategies are more likely to unfold, depending on what we're facing and which powers we've drafted. Here I'll show a new power gain along with presence placement from the top, opening up Moon to slow down fights until after builds. But seeking 4-card plays or entering a reclaim loop can both be viable. With only a few explorers left to play with, increasing the terror level becomes our focus. More generally, look at the powers we have left for what elements we may be missing for our innate powers. This time, air will let us see what happens, and animals will let us instigate a fight. Desiccating Winds sets us up to clear problematic sands and mountains, and has 2 of our elements. The Sacred Site requirement is doable if necessary, but we don't currently have problems that this power would address. Hazard spread across the island is a strong option, having a couple of our elements and spreading Beast and Strive across the island. It also requires a Sacred Site, but for this we're more than happy to put in the work. Mesmerized Tranquility provides the animal to fight with, and would let us defend the coastal jungles next turn if necessary, while also ensuring the upper sands stay empty. Poison Dew would catch one of the next explorers, but like Desiccating Winds, it's an answer to a problem we don't have. If the game were to go longer, I think Hazards would be more tempting. But since we didn't find a fast fear effect, Mesmerizing Tranquility allows us to destroy one of the jungle towns that build, giving us enough fear to trigger Terror Level 2 this turn, instead of waiting for the Ravage. Opening up Moon will place presence in land 6 as required for our new power. Playing our hand, we proceed after we've pushed a Dahan to clear the sands. Veil the Night's Hunt can follow Mesmerized Tranquility, stopping the coastal jungle from building and pushing us into turn 5. Belief Takes Root adds some defense, and after the invaders finish their turn, regardless of where they explore, we are ready to pull off our final pranks before the invaders have had enough and flee the island. Some final thoughts for Grinning Trickster Stirs Up Trouble. Remember your Dahan movement. Since it doesn't come from a power or special rule, it can be easy to forget. Just because Trickster doesn't like working doesn't mean they can't set up more elaborate traps. Planning for counterattacks with Dahan movement over a couple turns, or waiting for the slow phase to start fights won't violate the nature of the spirit, and if the city isn't exploring, you may need to get creative in order to take it down. While this game has done wonders in melding theme and mechanics, Grinning Trickster is a level above, making it really easy to immerse yourself in the simple pleasures of chaotic mischief. Alright everyone, that's all I've got this time. Hope you gained some insight, and good luck in your next games.